Kenneth Okoth, first-time Member of Parliament for Kibra. He's only 36 years old. And Gwada Ogot, he's a consultant in governance and elections. Listen up, folks. This is the leadership of today and tomorrow. Gentlemen, it's great that we're talking these issues because maybe we don't hear them enough out there. Maybe they're not being articulated enough. When you talk about IEBC, or when we hear IEBC wanting to be disbanded, it's not the whole thing swept away. It's just, a couple of bad apples, a couple of bad reforms they've done that need to be changed. Yeah. That's what we're talking about. We'll talk about registration. Is registration taking part right now? Is it happening? Because, last time I remember, 17-year-olds have become 80-year-olds. Yeah. They're ready to vote.
And I think that's something that every Kenyan politician has to concern themselves with. Right now, if I want to get re-elected in 2017, I need to be paying attention to students who are in Form 1 and Form 2 who will have turned 18. Do I make sure they've got their IDs and their voter cards there? All the young people who turned this. So I think when we talk about the referendum issues, which is where we started today, I think I just want to quickly highlight the points, how they tie in together, and Kenyans can decide whether they'll support or not. But I think the first thing is this electoral system reform, improving it to making sure, is it what we want? I would say when we paid for the last election, we paid so many billions of shillings. It's like if you, Jeff Koinange, wrote a check and transferred money to a dealer and ordered a Jaguar or a Range Rover, brand new.
I wish, man, I wish.
And KTN needs to look into this. You deserve it. You work so hard. But if once you've wired the money and you show up at the dealership to pick it up, you find out it's a crappy second-hand Toyota from Zimbabwe. You will not be happy.
Zimbabwe has very new cars.
Well, you love Zimbabwe. But all I'm saying is when you pay for something, you deserve to get
service.
We paid for a 5-star or a 6-star election. We got a 2-star election. We need to ask ourselves critical questions. Why were we cheated? Where did that money go? Who is responsible? And how do you make sure that next time, if we need a 3- or 4-star election, we pay that price and we get that election? So there's no this tension and mistrust. People accept results in confidence and are not questioning the electoral body that conducted it. The second thing is that we really need to talk about, in terms of our referendum issues that we need to go forward in, is security. We need to debate, how do we reform our security sector? How much of it do we keep at the national level? For what purposes and control? How much do we get to be municipal police and county police? How much of the coordination is in between? How much security authority and responsibility and accountability do we demand of our governors? We haven't talked about devolution of security properly. What are the pros and cons? Through this collection of signatures, through this being the debates forward, no one should see the referendum as a threat. It's a national dialogue in which we are engaging with citizens who pay the taxes, who are our bosses as their leaders. Let us engage in that dialogue without dividing Kenyans and decide what will be a security system and architecture, what will go to the governors, what will stay at the national level. That's important. The role of the provincial administration. The national government needs some coordination. I will concede that. But we cannot have a situation where county commanders right now and county commissioners are acting as supervisors of prefects of governors. We cannot have that. We really need to look at that and think about that carefully. The final 2 points I want to put up is the budget. Let us never ever rely on the generosity or goodwill of a government to do us favors. Let us demand our rights. Kenyans pay taxes. Let us agree on a formula for sharing the national wealth. How much of it goes to the county? Let us, for instance, talk about is it 40%? Is it 30%? Is it 20%? Our starting off proposition is 40%. We might go out there and reasonable Kenyans say, if you want us to support this, you have to lower it down to 30% for us to support it to wait off. But you'll find many governors who say, let's stick with the 40% of real revenues, not this game that we're being deceived right now, the 1.8 trillion government budget of this year. They say it's 40% that's going to the county. That's a lie. That's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie. However many times you say it. 206 billion going to the county government is not 40% of 1.8 trillion. So you cannot lie about this basic math. I've been a teacher. Even a standard 3 child knows the math. So let us fix that and negotiate and talk about that and debate it and decide what is the right balance. The last and important thing for me personally, which you're not hearing often, I am a feminist. I support women. I think girls and our mothers and our sisters need equal opportunities to get into political leadership. We need a lady here to share the views and experiences they have. So let me just finish. Let me finish that. The one-third rule is said in our constitution. We didn't know how to fix it in this election, so the Supreme Court gave us a get-out-of-jail-free pass for a few years and said it can be implemented progressively by 2015. Does that mean that August 2015, for the National Assembly of Kenya to be constitutional and legit, we have to go in and bring 100 more women to get to a parliament to 530-something women to meet the one-third gender rule? Even the United States does not reach the 20% threshold. Even the United Kingdom, the countries that you cite in Kenya like Rwanda and Uganda, how they have gone about it. What are the lessons that we can copy from them? What do we like about it? What don't we like about it? That's an issue we could bring up to our referendum. And the final issue that I want to say about is this issue of land and injustice and national cohesion and ethnic cohesion. Who gets what jobs, what training, things like that. Let's demystify these things. Let's give people titles to land, because land is a very special thing.
It's very emotive too.
And our history of government has always been that the government of Kenya have always been cartels of land grabbers. That is what has been the governance of Kenya. The colonial government was an imperial cartel of land grabbers who stole land from our people. They told us, kneel down, pray, here's a Bible. And while we knelt down and prayed, when we opened our eyes, the land was theirs, the Bible was ours. We are more Christian than the Anglicans. You know, we are more Catholic than the Italians.
Gwada, before you answer, Mheshimiwa, what's the timeline for this? Give us a rough timeline for the referendum.
The timeline for the referendum, I think getting the signatures is not going to be hard. Crafting the questions and listening. We're not doing this for ourselves as leaders. We will be guided even by the people that we're going to. We have a technical team of experts. This thing could take even a year and a half, even 2 years, because we haven't even budgeted for it. We will have to get to a point of we have to budget for it. So I don't see a referendum happening immediately in the next 6 months, and people should not be worried about, because the steps are, first you have to collect the signatures and they craft some of the questions that you've come with the signatures. They have to be verified to be true. Then a referendum is agreed to. We could actually never get to a referendum if Jubilee and CORD through the parliament say, we've understood the issues, we can solve them through parliament in this way, and parliament could actually solve this in a cheap way without taking us to a referendum. The county assemblies could say, we see where the country is, the voice of the people, and the voice of the people is the voice of God. We will have to listen.
Gwada.
3 issues mainly. 1, way forward, that they should be considered an amendment that includes or that sets a matrix for creating national members of parliament, which will be exclusive to presidential candidates who get a certain threshold in elections. So
what would be their titles? Would they be MPs?
No, they would be called national MPs, NMPs, not MPs, national MPs. Why? Because
in a women MPs.
In a fractured nation, people who are able to mobilize votes across the breadth of the country need to be encouraged for the future in terms of building the sense of national ownership. That is number 1. 2, with the new constitution that we promulgated in 2010, where we devolved power to the regions, referendums do not have to, of necessity, be national in context. We can undergo a process that is structured and planned and not emotional, where we get the key issues, 5 or 6 key issues, or 3 key issues per county. And these are brought together, collated, and resolutions to them found.
That is what we call a national dialogue.
Yes,
that is what we call a national dialogue.
Which is all good.
Okay, we can brand it something else that's more comfortable for everyone.
Let the regions come up with issues. These issues are brought together through the governors, through the MCAs, and these are brought to a national platform, and people talk about them. But it requires planning. Number 3, on the issue of women. From 2000 to date, we have had 45 women premiers across the world. Between 2000 and 1990, there were only 4. That is almost over 1,000% increase in women leadership. From 2000 to date, we have had 42 women presidents. That's a huge leap. Now, when you start slotting special interests, the biggest question is, are special interests permanent? and our special interests spread or they are specific to certain nations. When Rwanda introduced special interests for women, it is because they had gone through a situation of a very vicious civil war that had not only killed many men, but it had tainted very many of them. So they had to bring in special interests or open spaces for women to come up and take leadership. Likewise, Uganda. When you look across the African region, and specifically Eastern Central Africa, you find that women, in the context of where you do not have a substantive vice president, like you have in deputy president, like you have in Kenya, most of them have vice presidents who are assistants to the president. In most of these nations, you have, in Uganda, the speaker is a woman. Tanzania, the speaker is a woman. Mozambique, the speaker is a woman. Zimbabwe, the Senate, the speaker is a woman. Kenya, the deputy speaker of the Senate is a woman. Tanzania, the speaker is a woman. The speaker of Yala is a woman. Now, the position of speakers is a takeoff position towards the presidency, and this is no accident. All these women who occupy these positions, including the 42 that I have mentioned and the 45 that I have mentioned, have not come in on the platform of affirmative action.
So you don't agree with it then?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And this one,
if women are able to compete effectively in life generally, in education, in business, why does it come out that when there is political leadership, you provide tokens for them? Many women that I know say they will not and they cannot contest for these positions because they have beaten men in other spheres of the world and can also compete effectively at...
Okay, let me play devil's advocate.
Parliament today.
Let me play devil's advocate. One real quick moment. Martha Karua.
Yes. No affirmative action.
But
yes,
she started, I think she was the first to declare her presidential campaign.
Excellent.
5 years ago, whatever it was.
But no one gave her the space as a woman rep.
Correct.
She just fought her way. She had beaten men in school. She had beaten men in elections. And she stood for president on her right as a citizen and as an able person.
But look where she ended up.
Martha Karua can be looked at as one of the pioneers. First, it was Ngilu in 1997, and then Martha the second. And this, again, is applying. The women presidential candidates are rising over the place. But my key issue here is that you do not need to create special gaps for women to use. You probably, you're retrospectively saying that they are unable and they need a shove to move forward. Absolutely not.
Would Kenyans vote for women president?
I think Kenyans could vote for a woman president, and I think Martha Karua was impressive in many ways. And I just, really wonder how she didn't get the traction and the votes. But she worked hard for it, and I would say she should come back again. And it's a waste and a shame that the system we embrace has left her out in the cold. But being out in the cold is a good time for reflection. She may be writing books, she may be rebuilding, she may be giving people time to see what a mess this country is being created in, and then they'll look back and say, we need you. Come back now. We're ready for you. We were not listening the first time, but come back now. We need you and want you. So absence makes the heart grow fonder. A little time off in the cold for her. She might come back. I think I don't
women
feel
are the future.
Another one. Could you see another woman in Kenya?
There is many.
I
have a lot of confidence in the capacities of many women that I have met both at work and social. Many of them are very able people.
And they can compete equally, if not.
And our circumstance, in terms of special interests, we cannot reflect on Uganda or Rwanda or derive from the experiences. Those were unique experiences where there had been war. We have had a gender... Our issue, more and more, could be based on trying to... on cultural issues.
Right.
That sometimes bar women from going to school. But those who actually go to school are extremely capable, and as the statistics I have given you indicate, the future of leadership actually belongs to women.
I totally agree.
It's coming out more and more.
Totally agree on that point. Gentlemen, we've got exactly 2 minutes to go before we end the show. I'm going to start with you, Gwada. Closing thoughts. Your thoughts going forward in this country.
Wow. One, in regard to the referendum, let's go back to the counties. Let's plan for something that represents the true feelings of all Kenyans in unison, not a section of Kenyans facing another. The polarization of this country has brought us a lot of consequences and experiences that we do not need to repeat. But more and more, I have every confidence that this nation is going places, and as much as we have problems, there is a future for me, for you, and for everybody else. Let's build the country, let's work together, but let us focus on national values.
Does that mean you're going to move back from Uganda?
Yes, I will. Yes, I will.
You promise?
I promise I will move back from Uganda, and I will participate in the politics of my country as I did before I took off. and I will focus on the future, and no one, and I repeat, no man will scare me in the same way that fellow tried to do again. I will not mention names.
Gentlemen to the call. Mheshimiwa, you get the final word.
I really think Kenya is set to go. We have to keep our eyes on the ball. Where do we want to be in 2030? What type of country do we want to be? Will we have realized the goals of clean water, access to fair and quality education for all our people, healthcare and things like that? How do we grow our economy so everybody benefits? We must not make sure that there's a Kenya of two tribes, the rich who live in exclusion and really, really have it, and the poorest who are suffering in indignity. That's a recipe for chaos. But I'm proud to be a Kenyan, and I'm proud of the accomplishment that we have achieved together as a nation. And even despite the challenges we have, I give great thanks to the leaders who fought for the independence of this country, who paid the sacrifices to give us multi-party democracy and a new constitution. And I pledge, and I know many leaders in my generation, I serve in the National Assembly. So many of us are there for the first time. We've accomplished something based on the trust and faith of our people in a peaceful manner to bring a new revolutionary class of leaders that countries like Egypt have not achieved, countries like Tunisia have not achieved, countries like Libya. So let no Kenyan think that the way to solve this country's problem is to go through violence. Let us debate, let us compete on issues, let us trust our people to vote for the right leadership, and let that leadership serve not for their own personal greed, but for improving this nation. Real patriotism without corruption, without tribalism, without nepotism, Kenya can take off. We have the smartest people, we have the most committed people, and I know that when we come to the 2017 elections, I want to encourage more young people. Stand up to be counted. You don't have to be rich to participate. You know, I was a young boy born and raised in Kibra. I serve in the National Assembly as a recognized leader in this country with a title. I want that to be an encouragement to other young people. Stand up and be counted. Fight for your country. Serve for your country in any way. At the community level, go out, fight in the county assemblies, go out, run for governor, run for senator, and especially our women. We need your voices. Don't be shy. And our parties, be responsible, promote women, support women, make sure that your party nominations are friendly and not violent so that more women can participate. We can change this country. We're going places.
Mheshimiwa, would you run for president?
I am elected right now to serve as Member of Parliament for Kibra. I will do the best job I can do as Member of Parliament for Kibra. The rest will be details for the future. I'm very young.
You are. I mean, 10, 15 years from now, you'll just be barely 50.
Yes, and we've got a president who's 50. We've got a deputy president who's under 50. The president was raised at State House. He came from a different social class. The deputy president came from a different social class, and he built himself up through his wisdom and cunning. He's rallied people and supporters around. He's a deputy president, and I wish them luck and success in serving this country. I want them to be successful. I don't want them to fail. And when one day I'm president, I want people to support me to be successful. Okay?
You just answered my question.
Guinea was a cow. My, oh my.
Oh my. You can't make this stuff up. Guinea was a cow.
Dongi.
But do you say...
Those are words in the national dictionary. Even Obama knows them.
You just whisper.
Yeah, dongi. Ayawa.
Yawa, yawa.
Oh.
My goodness, this is it, folks. This is the future. I have looked into the future. I have seen it. Why lie? It's you guys, man.
Thank you.
And we will walk away. Well, we'll step aside. You guys can have it. But don't mess it up.
No, we're very responsible. We'll never tell. Somebody like myself, people have visions of Kibra, where I come from, that it's a violent place. We had an election in which we did not send even one person to hospital. Not one stone was thrown.
Yeah, but that railway, that railway though, Ilereri.
Really yet.
Do you know that...
Hold on. Kibra Member of Parliament Kenneth the Governance and Elections Consultant Gwada Ogot. This is a conversation we must keep having. As I keep saying, we have to keep talking. Because the minute we stop talking is the minute we start fighting, and you don't want to go down that slippery slope. Listen to the future. Listen to the young leadership. You might learn a thing or two at the end of the day. Tomorrow night, here on JKL, he's no doubt the most prolific comedian in Kenyan history. And he's giving back and bringing others to the fore. You may know him as Churchill. his real name, Daniel Dampoki. Make sure you watch that right here on Kenya's television network, KTN. Thanks for watching. Good night and good luck. Mr. President?
Yawa.
Yeah,
No.